Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. Today we'll be creating a unique geometric pattern, step by step. I'll guide you through each phase, from marking initial points to adding the final touches of color. Let's get started. First, let's mark the center of our paper using an H pencil. This will serve as the foundation for the rest of our design, so be precise with this point. Next, we'll mark 2 points above and below the center. Measure 7 centimeters from the center point to mark the point at the top, and label it T for top. Then, measure 7 centimeters downward from the center to mark the bottom point, and label it B for bottom. Now, we'll add 2 more points that are closer to the center. Measure 2 centimeters above the center and mark that point as T2. Then, measure 2 centimeters below the center and label this new point B2. Let's continue by marking points a bit further out. Measure 4 centimeters above the center and mark this as T4. Do the same 4 centimeters below the center and label it B4. At this point, we're building a layout that will guide us in forming balanced and symmetrical shapes. Now, take your second set square, and from the point labeled T4, measure 9 centimeters to the right. Mark this point and name it TR9, where TR stands for top right. Then, measure 13 centimeters to the right of T4 and mark it as TR13. These points give us the width we need to shape the pattern. Repeat the same steps for the point labeled B4. Measure 9 centimeters to the right of B4 and label that point BR9. Then, measure 13 centimeters to the right and label it BR13. By creating points on both the top and bottom, we're ensuring our pattern will have consistent structure. Now, let's go back to the points we labeled T2 and B2. Measure 9 centimeters to the right of each point, creating one on the right side of T2 and another on the right side of B2. These help us define the finer details as we move along. Using B2 as a reference and the other marked point, measure 9 centimeters to the left. Mark this point and label it BL9, where BL stands for bottom left. Next, measure 12 centimeters to the left of B2 and label that point BL12. These points are key for establishing symmetry on the left side of our pattern. Now, repeat the same process for T2. Measure 9 centimeters and 12 centimeters to the left of T2 and label these points TL9 and TL12 respectively. With these points in place, we've completed a grid that will guide the shape and flow of the design. At this stage, we can clean up a bit, gently erase any unnecessary marks that won't be needed for the final pattern. Be careful to keep the main points visible, as we'll rely on them to form the next steps. With our main points in place, let's start forming a polygon. Begin from the left side, connecting the main points in sequence to create a closed shape. This polygon will be the framework for the design we'll add in the coming steps. side of the polygon, mark small intervals every 5 millimeters. These small marks will guide us in creating even straight lines, which will add depth to our pattern. Now we're ready to start drawing lines. Begin with the bottom points, connecting them to the marks on the left side of the polygon. Skip any points directly in front of each other to allow for overlapping patterns without obstruction. Repeat this process for each of the remaining bottom points, ensuring they follow the same alignment rules. These connections will create a layered effect, adding complexity to the design. Once the bottom connections are complete, move to the top. Draw lines from the main points to each of the marked points at the bottom. This balance between top and bottom lines brings symmetry to the final piece. Now, for the finishing touch, add color between the lines. Carefully fill in each section to bring out the geometric shapes and layers. The colors will enhance the contrast and make the pattern stand out beautifully. And there you have it! A unique geometric pattern created with precision and care. Thank you for following along. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like the video and consider subscribing for more content. For extra tutorials and support, you can join me on Patreon. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.